at 2:17 a.m. A hotel room door opened with a valid key card, but when detectives checked the security footage, no one was there. And inside that room, a 26-year-old woman had just vanished.
Welcome to the unseen truth, where mysteries hide in the dark. All right. Tonight, we step into a story that many tried to forget. A case buried in silence. A truth hidden in the shadows. Let's dive into the mystery.
Have you ever walked into a hotel room and felt a strange, lingering chill? A feeling that you're not entirely alone? That is exactly what 26-year-old freelance photographer Hannah Cole felt in 2008 when she checked into a historic downtown hotel. She was in town for a project, excited to capture the city's architectural beauty. But something about her room 914, felt deeply wrong. She even sent a text to her sister, saying, "This place gives me the creeps." Little did her sister know that would be the last message she would ever receive from Hannah. That night, at precisely 10:42 p.m., hotel security cameras recorded Hannah walking down the long, dimly lit hallway of the 9th floor. She swiped her key card, pushed open the heavy wooden door to room 914, and stepped inside. The door clicked shut behind her, and in that moment, Hannah Cole vanished from the face of the earth. The next morning, housekeeping arrived for their daily rounds. They knocked on the door of 914, but there was no answer. Using a master key, they entered the room, expecting to find a sleeping guest. Instead, they found an eerie, silent scene. The bed was perfectly made, the crisp white sheets untouched, as if no one had slept in it all night. On a luggage rack near the window, Hannah's suitcase was open, her clothes neatly folded inside. Her wallet, containing her ID and cash, sat on the nightstand, right next to her cell phone. Everything she needed to exist in the world was there, but Hannah was gone. The hotel immediately called the police. Detectives arrived, expecting to find a standard missing person case, maybe a young woman who decided to leave for a night on the town. But the evidence, or rather the lack of it, quickly told them this was something else entirely. They checked the door and windows, no signs of forced entry. The lock hadn't been picked, the door hadn't been kicked in. It was as if she had just evaporated into thin air. The investigation deepened, and the timeline of that night became the central focus. The last confirmed sighting was the security footage of her entering her room at 10:42 p.m. But then, investigators discovered something that made the case take a bizarre turn. The electronic lock system for room 914 registered an event at 2:17 a.m. Hannah's own key card had been used to open the door from the outside. Naturally, the police went straight back to the security tapes. They scoured the footage from every camera in the 9th floor hallway, expecting to see when Hannah, or anyone else, sat the door to room 914 at 2:17 a.m. They found nothing. The hallway was completely empty at that exact time. No one entered and no one left. It was impossible. A key card was used, but the person using it was invisible. Frustrated, the detectives expanded their search, pulling footage from the elevator cameras. And that's when they found another piece of the puzzle that made no sense. On the night Hannah disappeared, the main elevator's camera feed experienced a glitch. For exactly 3 minutes, starting at 2:16 a.m. and ending at 2:19 a.m. The camera recorded nothing but static, just long enough for someone to use the elevator without being seen. The hotel's management waved it off as a simple technical issue, a common occurrence in an old building. But for the police, the timing was too perfect to be a coincidence. 3 minutes of darkness, right when Hannah's room was mysteriously accessed. What could have happened in that 3-minute window? Did someone take her from the room and use the elevator while the cameras were down? If so, how did they do it without leaving a single trace? The police forensics team swept room 914 from top to bottom. They dusted for fingerprints. They searched for foreign DNA. They looked for stray hairs or fibers. They found nothing. No fingerprints other than Hannah's and the hotel staff's. No unknown DNA. No signs of a struggle. The room was chillingly clean. They interviewed every employee who was on duty that night, from the front desk clerk to the janitorial staff. They questioned other guests staying on the 9th floor. No one saw anything. No one heard anything. It was a dead end at every turn. Hannah Cole had checked into room 914, and the room had seemingly swallowed her whole. Weeks turned into months, and the official investigation stalled. With no leads, no suspects, and no body, the case went cold. But the story of room 914 was far from over. The hotel, trying to move on from the disturbing event, continued to book the room for guests. And that's when the strange reports began to surface. Guests staying in or near room 914 started complaining about unusual noises. It wasn't the typical sounds of an old hotel, the creaking floors or rattling pipes. These were different. They described hearing soft, rhythmic knocking sounds. What was most unsettling was where the sounds were coming from. They seemed to be emanating from inside the walls. One guest became so unnerved that they demanded a room change in the middle of the night, swearing they heard someone gently tapping from behind the wallpaper next to their bed. The complaints became so frequent that the hotel management could no longer ignore them. They brought in a maintenance crew to investigate. The crew focused on the wall separating room 914 from the adjacent room, the area where the knocking was most often reported. They carefully cut out a section of the wall, pulling back layers of plaster and insulation, expecting to find a loose pipe or some sort of structural issue. When they peered into the dark, hollow space between the walls, they found absolutely nothing. There was no source for the noise. It was just an empty, dusty void. The maintenance workers sealed the wall back up, baffled. The hotel's official explanation was that it was likely air pressure changes within the old building's framework. But the staff who knew the story of Hannah Cole whispered a different theory. They believed it was Hannah, trapped somewhere beyond our world, trying to signal for help. To this day, the disappearance of Hannah Cole remains one of the most perplexing, unsolved mysteries of the 21st century. Her family has never given up hope, but with no new evidence, the case remains frozen in time. What really happened in room 914? Let's look at the theories. One popular theory suggests a criminal with intimate knowledge of the hotel. Someone who knew about the camera blind spots, the elevator's glitches, and perhaps even a secret passage or hidden entry point into the room. Could a hotel employee have been involved? It's possible. They would have access and knowledge that an outsider wouldn't. But again, the complete lack of physical evidence makes this hard to prove. A perfect crime with a ghost-like perpetrator. Another theory leans into the paranormal. The hotel was old, built on a site with a long and storied past. Some say historic buildings can hold on to the energy of events that happened there. Given Hannah's initial text about the room feeling creepy, and the subsequent reports of knocking from within the walls, some believe she encountered a supernatural force. Did she stumble into a place where the veil between worlds is thin? Did something pull her through? It sounds like something out of a movie, but in a case with no logical answers, people start looking for illogical ones. Then there's the most chilling possibility of all, that the answer was in the room the entire time, but no one could see it. What if the person who took her was an expert at covering their tracks? Someone who knew forensic techniques and how to avoid leaving DNA? Or what if she was coerced into leaving on her own, under a threat that we can't even imagine, and staged the scene to look like a disappearance? This would explain the lack of a struggle, but it doesn't explain the keycard usage or the invisible person in the hallway. Every detail in this case is a puzzle piece, that doesn't fit with any other. The untouched bed, the wallet and phone left behind, the key card used by an invisible hand, the 3-minute camera blackout, and the ghostly knocking in the walls. It's a mystery that defies simple explanation. Did Hannah Cole walk out of that room on her own? Was she taken? Or did she simply cease to exist inside the 4 walls of room 914? This story serves as a haunting reminder that sometimes there are no easy answers. What do you think happened to Hannah Cole? Do you believe in a rational explanation we just haven't found yet? Or is there something more mysterious at play? Leave your theories in the comments below. I read all of them, and this is a case that truly keeps me up at night. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into the unknown. If you find these kinds of mysteries as fascinating as I do, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories that will make you question everything. Stay safe and always trust your gut.